Good evening, everyone, and welcome to today's session. My name is Khushbu, and I'm the Client Services Manager at Healthy. Today's session on carcinogenic ingredients in food we eat is an initiative from Nova Benefits. I would like Mohit Agarwal from Nova Benefits to talk few words here. Over to you, Mohit.
Sure. Thank you, Khushbu. Thank you so much. Right. So, hello everyone. Welcome to the first EAP session of Nova Benefits 2022. So today our focus is regarding cancerous ingredients that we are going to talk about. That Vinita is going to, our chief speaker Vinita is going to talk about, and what are the myths and what are the ingredients and food ingredients that basically we think are not cancerous but are, and what we think are not. So she will be covering all of the factors, how we should take our nutrition to a level wherein we can avoid these kind of diseases. But before we begin, I just quickly need to introduce Nova Benefits to everyone. We are an employee wellness platform that is centered around health insurance. We help companies improve employee well-being through health insurance, daily fitness, mental wellness counseling, and other variety of wellness products. This is one of the initiatives that we have taken as a part towards the wellness offerings that we have, and we would like you all to keep attending this particular session that we organize in the upcoming days as well. I also would like to thank you everyone for attending today's session, and we would like to begin. So thank you everyone, and yes, Khushbu, over to you.
Thanks, Mohit. So I would just like to take a moment to, introduce the topic in a little detail and then, introduce our presenter. So in today's session, our speaker is going to be answering few important questions like, what are carcinogenic substances? What are the various carcinogenic foods and ingredients? Pesticides in fruits and veggies? How to clean them to minimize their effects? And lastly, what are the alternatives or solutions? Today's session is taken by Ms. Vinita Contractor, who is a holistic nutrition and lifestyle coach. She is a certified holistic nutritionist from American Fitness Professionals and Associates, US, and has completed the plant-based nutrition certificate from E. Cornell and T. Colin Campbell Center for Nutrition Studies, New York, as well as other courses in wellness, culinary, nature cure, and Ayurveda. She has worked with over 1,500 plus clients and has conducted various online workshops as well. She's been featured several times in publications such as Mumbai Mirror, Midday, Asian Age, The Hindu, Hindustan Times, Vegan First, LLB, etc. Before we begin the session, I would like to list some instructions to have a great webinar experience. Please be on mute until the Q&A session. During the Q&A session, you can raise your hand and post your questions to the speaker. You can also use the chat box to post your questions. Kindly do post relevant questions to the topic. Over to you, Ms. Vinita.
Thank you, Khushbu, and thank you, Team Nova Health, for having me here. A warm welcome to all the participants who are here. So we already have discussed the topic for today. And as we know, World Cancer Day was just a few days ago on 4th February. Before I actually begin, I would like to know how many people who are here have had someone close to them deal with cancer. I would like to see that in the chat box. And Mohit, can we get the other slide off, please? The Nova Healthcare slides are still going on. Yes, thank you. Yes, would participants like to share? While you type in your messages, I would like to share that in today's times it's not uncommon. I've had 2 people in my immediate family dealing with cancer. One of them succumbed to it. So it's a topic which is very close to my heart. And I would love to know if any of you have had to deal with it at close quarters with family or close friends. And it would be really nice. I just lost your 38-year-old aunt to cancer. Okay. Really sorry to hear that. So it's something that has, as I said, not remained very uncommon. A lot of young people are also dealing with cancer, and that is why I hope today's session will shed light on what we can do about it. I'm going to start screen sharing, and my endeavor would be to get you familiarized with all the things, or all the know-how, so that you can better work towards it. I don't know whether it can completely be foolproof, but we can definitely try to do what is in our hands. So we're going to talk quickly about carcinogenic ingredients and what to do, like Khushbu already shared the agenda. So this is my name, Vinita Contractor. The points I'm sure everybody is familiar with, but what I would request in addition would be if you could keep your cameras on. I won't judge you on your clothes or your background, what is visible. It's just so that it's nice to have eye contact with people. So if you're comfortable, please keep your camera on. The agenda we already know. And I will be getting into what are the different foods that contain carcinogenic ingredients. So I'm going to talk about decoding labels first. So when we buy bread, which everybody buys, right? About 84% of the samples of the breads tested were of 38 commonly available brands had potassium bromate and potassium iodate, which are known to be carcinogenic substances. Now, that's something that's going to kind of scare us, because bread is something that we eat all the time. And these substances are banned, these ingredients are banned in many countries, but not in India. A lot of our snacks, when we look at even the healthy snacks, supposedly healthy snacks, if you look closely, I don't want to take brands, but the red label, which is there down, it says palm oil, which is not the best thing for the heart. There is invert sugar syrup, a lot of consumption of sugar in its varied forms, too much of oil, which has an inflammatory effect on the body. All are linked to cancer. The one on the left as well, if you look closely, most of it is good. And that's how you would know, as long as you can pronounce the ingredients and they don't look suspicious. There are many names for sugar, which I'm going to share with you. If you're looking at the these crunchy tomato with mint, you'll find a lot of times there are numbers at the end of it. Here there's rice bran oil. This one looks good, but there's also hydrolyzed vegetable protein. Again, that's not something.
Yes? Sorry to interrupt, but the slides, everyone can only see the first slide. I think it's not.
Sorry, you can't see the slides?
Vinita, we can't see the slides. Can you please?
Okay, I'll stop sharing and do it again.
Sure, thank you.
Could you tell me if you can see it now?
Now it's perfect. Yeah.
Okay, great. So I was just sharing of how you need to read labels to know if there are sugars inside, if there's palm oil in them, if there are things that you can't pronounce, if there are numbers mentioned, INS or artificial flavors, artificial sweeteners. These are things that are not, some of them are directly related to cancer, but in general, it's important to keep our awareness high and look at packaged food very closely and reduce the consumption. When you're looking at ready-made sauces and dressings as well, if you see, I was telling you, right, INS 415, you see on the right-hand side one, on the left-hand side one, there are permitted preservatives, flavor enhancers, all with this INS. There's liquid glucose. So sugar has so many names. I don't think we can count how many these are, right? Artificial sweeteners are also something that over a period of time, if we keep consuming through the day in different forms, thinking that, oh, this thing doesn't have sugar, but if any of these names are there, then that's something you want to at least minimize, if not completely avoid. So I've used the word carcinogenic. I'm sure all of us have heard it. Most of us also know what it means. It means the potential of being able to cause cancer. Now, there are various kinds. There's chemical carcinogens, physical carcinogens, and cancer-causing viruses. But today we are mainly going to talk about the ones that we have control over. Like we don't have control over the chemical affluents from the factories or from the vehicular traffic, right? We don't have control on that. We do not have control sometimes on the radiation that we get from X-rays or from the radioactive materials that are, around us. We can't do anything about that, and neither can we do much about the cancer, which has come from these oncogenic viruses, because that's not in our hands either. But what is in our hands is the kind of food that we eat. Now, at this point, I would request Khushbu to share a poll with all of you.
The poll is up on your screens. Please take a moment to, respond to it.
People are still responding. That's great. 70% have already put in their responses. The remaining few, please do. This just gives you food for thought as to what is your understanding of which food items contain carcinogenic substances. And I don't mean that they inherently are carcinogenic. Something about them makes them carcinogenic, and we'll know what it is in a bit. But which ones, according to you? So that's our poll. Most 59% have said all of the above, and the next number would be meat. So what if I said 59% of you are absolutely right? The remaining 41%, are you surprised? I'd like to know if you are surprised, and which ones do you feel would not contain carcinogenic? I'm asking the 41% who said, fruits, vegetables, milk, or meat. Can I check in the chat? Yeah, how many people feel that they're a bit surprised with all of the above as the answer? Or you could share with me what you didn't know contain carcinogenic substances. I'll check the responses. That's the correct answer, all of the above. Thank you for asking. All of the above contain, and let me continue to share with you. So I'm going to quickly talk about carcinogenic ingredients. Maida or flour, which you might be surprised, is cancerous in nature because when it's getting processed, it comes in contact with a blast of chlorine gas. Our microwave popcorn that we like so much is lined with a product. The bag itself is lined with a product which is PFOA. Do not ask me the full form because they're just long chemical names which nobody's going to remember. But the key thing to remember is that it's behind cancers of pancreas, kidney, liver, and the bladder. Potato chips are high in salt, high in saturated fat, which are not the most healthy items. They are inflammatory in nature, and they're also rich in acrylamide, which is a carcinogenic chemical which occurs when food is cooked in high temperature and increases the risk of cancer. Now, that's something that you might be surprised to know, that potato chips, again, if that's something that you consume regularly, you want to reduce the consumption and keep it for very, very rare occasions. Processed meat and smoked meat use a lot of nitrates and nitrites, which are linked to cancer. So all your salami and stuff like that, you need to be careful about. Aerated drinks contain a lot of sugar, which multiply cancer cells. They have a lot of artificial colors and flavorings, which are also not great. Canned and bottled food contain BPA, which is known to be a carcinogenic product. And what happens is The bottles are usually plastic, and this leaches into the food, and it's a hormone disruptor also, which can interfere with the estrogen in your body. How much of this is new? What do you feel you knew about potato chips? I mean, I'd love to hear. Keep putting your comments in. Did you know about the processed meat? I'm sure about the BPA. There's a lot of awareness. There are a lot of BPA-free products as well. But yeah, anything that's new, I would love to hear. There's a comment. Didn't know about chips. Great. Yeah. Refined oils. Most processed and refined oils contain omega-6 fats, and eating too much of these fats can lead to health problems. And when they are heated, they release harmful chemicals which can further increase the risk of heart disease, cancer, and inflammatory diseases. Grilling and smoking of red meat is linked to several cancers, especially colon cancer. Now coming to a part which is really sad, like see, all this till now obviously seemed unhealthy, right? Aerated drinks, sugar, oil, we already know that these are not healthy. But fruits and vegetables, yeah, that's something we are told by doctors, by nutritionists to eat more of fruits and vegetables. But the sad thing is that there's a lot of artificial ripening happening of the fruits and vegetables, and calcium carbide and oxytocin are regularly used to ripen fruits so that there's maximum yield. And it's commonly known, the calcium carbide is known as masala. It's a proven carcinogenic agent and it's banned, but it's still being used. There's so many chemicals. I don't want to scare you, but it's important to know. Oxytocin is actually it's a hormone. It's a natural hormone which every female animal or human releases, but it's used on cows to make them yield more milk. It's also used to ripen fruits and make raw vegetables kind of get ready. And there are pesticide residues, crop contaminants, and these are majorly into our fruits and vegetables, and we don't even know it. This is very common, injecting things into vegetables to make them look bigger, spraying them with different, like to make them look greener. For example, bhindi can be sprayed, brinjal can be painted. Things are dipped in color as well. I don't know how many of you have seen this. Right now in season, you get those hara chanas or ponk. They are both winter vegetables. Have you seen how green they look? Can you make out some of them definitely have been dunked in color? So I see interesting comments here. Oxytocin is a good hormone. It helps in bonding. Absolutely. It's a great hormone when naturally released by a mother while she's nursing her child. And that is a natural hormone. But when you take that natural hormone into a syringe and inject it more than its normal dosage, because human beings or cows don't need it to be injected. It comes to them naturally. But when it's added to, injected into animals or into fruits and vegetables, it's actually a carcinogen. And the Food Authority does not give clearance for such things. It's just happening. Because a lot of things in India happen without really any authority overseeing it. I'm appreciating the kind of comments that are coming. Please keep them coming. Thank you, Nimish. Thank you, Shipana. And Jatin and Shashi. Yeah. There's one more message. How to identify the non-chemical vegetables, Durga? Thank you for that question. I'm going to come to it. So fruits that are exposed to ethylene, which is a fruit ripening plant hormone, is also something that's very common. It at times contains calcium carbide also. So a banana or a mango, which is ripened like that, where it's very bright green with patches of green, a bright yellow with patches of green. Mangoes and bananas, you can see the stalks are green and the rest are yellow. These are carbide ripened. So when they don't contain spots and they have just a green stalk, then you know that they have been exposed to ethylene. And ethylene is not one of the greatest things to be exposed to. So I was telling you how you can have them dipped in green paint. I'm not even going to get into the names of all these various chemicals. It's just for you to know, direct spraying is one of the most common ways of contamination. Cauliflower is sprayed, cabbage is sprayed. Now, one is approved pesticides and these are unapproved ones. I know these sound like we're doing a chemistry class, but it's just for you to know. There's no need for us to memorize the names, but it's important to know what's happening with our fruits and vegetables. Various heavy metals like cadmium, chromium, copper, lead, zinc, nickel are found on leafy vegetables because they are grown close to industrial units or leather units. And synthetic colors are often sprayed onto bindi, beans, bitter gourd, and these contain heavy metals like mercury and lead. Now, just for you to know, from the point of view of commercial farming, does anyone know what do I mean by commercial farming? I would love to know. Traditional farming and commercial farming, just for you to have a comparison. What is commercial farming or commercial agriculture? More earning, less health. Superb, Shashi. Large scale farming using machines and chemicals. Yes, Karthik, that's exactly what it is. So when there is commercial farming that happens, these are the dirty dozen, which means these are the normal, this is a normal list of fruits and vegetables which contain the maximum amount of pesticides. Even approved ones, too much of the pesticides are not great. So the dirty dozen are cabbage, cauliflower, tomatoes, brinjal, spinach, mint, potatoes, grapes, strawberries, mangoes, bananas, and apples. I'll share something which used to happen to me personally. When I was a growing up child, I actually could never consume strawberries or grapes. I would continuously, like whenever I would consume them, I would get a throat infection. And it was when I grew up and much later when I started eating organic food, I started realizing that, hey, I can eat grapes now, I can eat strawberries now. And later I got to know that those two fruits have the maximum spraying on them because they don't thrive well, naturally. They need a lot of spraying. So these items, it's better to consume mainly organic versions of these. The dirty dozen, and this is relevant to India. This is not from a foreign website or an overseas list. This is the Indian dirty dozen list. Vegetables and fruits which have high level of pesticides. Mohit Agarwal, there's one screen that keeps on flashing. Can we remove that from the slide because it's extremely distracting for me? Thanks. Now, many of you marked fruits and vegetables, but may not have been aware about the use of chemicals in production of milk. I spoke to you about oxytocin, which is used to boost milk production. There is also alpha toxin, which is injected into the animals, and long-term exposure to it can cause cancer and can also give us antibiotic resistance, which, as we know, is one of the biggest threats to humanity now. That imagine a time when we will need antibiotics and we won't respond to them the way we should because we have a problem of antibiotic residue. So that milk contains this very, very commonly. There is also illegal use of adulterants such as these mentioned melamine, neutralizers, hydrogen peroxide, and the state of adulteration of milk and milk products in our country is about 68.7%. And these are the adulterants that are used. I'm sure each of you have come across videos which show you these. I have definitely seen one with shampoo being used to increase the quantity of milk during festive season. Harmful effects, of course, vomiting, cancer, nausea, heart problems, food poisoning. Even our chicken have a very high residue of antibiotics because the food that is given to the feed given to the chicken has a lot of antibiotics in it, and it again can lead to resistance in antibiotics, and in turn, because of the number of chemicals put into the chicken, they become carcinogenic for us. Like I mentioned, all the salami, sausages, etc., are also contain cancer-causing compounds because of the nitrates and nitrites. These are some common adulterants in food. In our coffee, there is stuff. In our orange juice, because of the colors, the tea has adulteration also. Apple juice, bottled drinking water, milk, like I discussed. And I know right now it's sounding all very sad and maybe even discouraging, but we will come to solutions and alternatives. We earlier, a few years ago, we got to know about lead being used in Maggi, then MSG, which is there in food. And there have been big brands which are involved with food scandals like Nestle, McDonald's, Burger King, Kellogg's, Quaker Oats. I'm not going to get into details of them, but this is just to tell you that if big brands are doing this, I know of Haldiram once was under a lawsuit for putting powdered marble. It was powdered marble which was used in their packaged, one of their farsans. And I don't know how many of you knew that. If any of you knew about Haldiram or didn't know, please share. Again, I'm naming these not so much for defaming anything. These are just facts which I'm reminding you of. This is what happens when profit is before human health. I don't know what, Aparna, what marble powder does. Probably it would, give it some crunch, I guess. Surprised about Haldiram, yes. Maybe while I'm still talking, if someone feels like checking on Google and sharing it with us, that would be great. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about in terms of food being adulterated or the carcinogenic ingredients in the food. Now, simple thing like even wrapping the food in a newspaper or putting hot food in plastic bags, both also are carcinogenic, because when we put food in plastic, hot food in plastic bags, there's a chemical filtration that happens, and these chemicals include bisphenol, which we've discussed, BPA, and that can cause cancer. The printing ink, which is there on newspapers, actually is a cancer-causing agent. And when hot food is placed on the newspaper, the printed ink melts and exposes the human body to various health problems. Is this again shocking for you? Yes, it's all gloom at the moment. Yes, I agree. When I did research for this, I mean, even previously, I've done this similar kind of workshop for another corporate last year. And when I was doing research, even I was very, very disheartened to know the current state of affairs and how we are exposed to so much on a daily basis. Let's go to the solutions. So before I come to the solutions, before I suggest anything, would you like to share with me? I'm checking the messages on chat. What do you think are the solutions? Foil paper, Shashi, is also not very, very safe. Directly, it's not cancer producing. But what is said is that the environment within that foiled, aluminum foil can create a lot more bacteria, and that is not healthy. And aluminum, of course, is not the best item for cooking food or for storing food. Strengthening of FSSAI regulation is a solution for sure. I think as a country, chalta hai, and a lot goes on, unchecked is definitely happening. But we all know as citizens, we have little control on making sure FSSAI becomes more regulated. We, of course, can, lodge complaints. As consumers, we have a lot of rights, which many of us don't use. But yes, it is one of the solutions. Affordable organic food with tougher regulations. Is kitchen towel like tissue paper safe enough to use on a daily basis? So my recommendation is use kitchen towels for your hands, for your surfaces. But when it comes to, wrapping food, because there's bleaching that goes on for the kitchen towels, I would say it's better to use malmal cloth. And I'm going to take all these questions in the Q&A. So I'm just going to move ahead. We are at 7:35, so I have another few minutes before I can finish off my presentation and then move on to question and answers. So what can you do is buy more organic as much as possible. If you're in a big city, Bombay has 2 great farmers markets, which are completely organic. I can share details of that when we finish. And I always feel the little premium that you pay for organic food is worth it, because instead of eating it like this, it's going like that. If you spend less on your food and buy commercially grown food, but later you pay in terms of healthcare. So it's a simple thing. You'd rather pay the farmer than the pharmacy. Drastically reduce packaged and refined foods. Simply limit your use of these items and stick to whole natural foods as much as possible. Always try and buy seasonal fruits and vegetables. I'm going to share a list with you, which is usually organic by default. Like how I shared Dirty Dozen, I'll share which are the ones which are by default organic or have minimal pesticides on them. Those are the fruits and vegetables that you should consider eating more of, and you could take a screenshot when I get to that screen. Buy local varieties instead of exotic ones. So when you buy a bell pepper versus say capsicum, the bell pepper will have more pesticides. If you buy a broccoli versus cauliflower, broccoli will have more. So try and buy local stuff, buy seasonal stuff. Choose smaller fruits and vegetables. Don't get impressed with big sized ones, because I'm sure out of experience, they don't taste as good. And that size has happened by some sort of adulteration happening and some sort of injecting happening. Avoid vegetables which are too dark. Pick the ones with a lighter hue. Like, you don't have to pick up only the brightest, reddest tomatoes. And if you are able to taste something, avoid fruits which are unnaturally sweet, because they could well be injected with glucose or with sugar water. Now, these are the clean 15. These are the fruits and vegetables which contain the least amount of pesticides. They do contain them, but minimally. Out of this list, millets, most millets are quite hardy. I'm sure you know what millets are jawar, bajra, ragi, but also the little ones like sama, kodo, barnyard. These are little millets, and most millets grow with less water and they don't need pesticides because they are very hardy. So you could take a screenshot of this. Let me see the comments as they are coming. I'll just share with you in a bit. I'll go through the chat as I move ahead. Now we are ready for our next poll.
Poll is up, everyone.
Could you read the first question? First option, because it's not visible. First and the last one.
Sure. The first one says, cleaning the surface of the vegetables helps with the effect of some of the pesticides. Okay. And the last one, consuming less packaged preservative-laden food is a good step towards reduction in exposure to carcinogenic ingredients.
%73% have already, 76 have already shared their responses. A few more.
15 more seconds then.
Yes. Is it done? Have you stopped?
Yeah.
Okay. So the correct answer is C, commercially grown fruits and vegetables are the best. I tried to hint at it. But I also put in similar, I mean, not similar, but things which could kind of make you think. And you'll get to know why I have put these questions or these points in the poll. Thank you for your responses. So before I go ahead, I just want to go over the solutions. What are we going to do? Buy more organic as much as possible, drastically reduce packaged and refined foods, limit your use of these products and stick to whole natural foods. Buy seasonal, local vegetables, avoid exotics as much as possible, choose smaller fruits and vegetables, avoid fruits and vegetables which are too dark and the ones which are unnaturally sweet. And pick these clean 15 fruits and veggies because they contain the least amount of pesticides. That way, automatically, the load of the pesticides is less. And we could also look at reducing our milk consumption, reducing our processed meat consumption, try and buy bread which is made, by a home baker if possible. Many people over the last 2 years, because of lockdown, have learned how to bake sourdough bread. There are also good companies selling clean, good quality sourdough bread. And yes, some of these things are expensive, but like I said, one setback with health and the amount one day in a hospital costs or the amount of tests that we need to get done when we have a health issue. I always like to say that why not spend on things which go into the body rather than spend on the outside of what other people can see or what you can see, because what goes inside you becomes you, while what is on the outside, once you kind of break out of that mentality of having newer, designer clothes, designer bags, or more expensive watches, they really don't amount to anything at the end of the day when your health goes for a toss. So we finished with the poll. And I'm going to come to how to clean your vegetables and fruits. Let's presume you have bought commercially grown fruits and vegetables. And let's presume you've bought the clean 15 and some which are from the dirty dozen list as well. The first thing that you're going to do is wash them under running water. So that's your leftmost picture. Then soak them for 15 to 20 minutes in water. Depending on the quantity, like if you really take a big pot, then a few teaspoons of salt or baking soda or natural vinegar. When I mean natural, means not synthetic vinegar, like apple cider vinegar, which is unfiltered, unpasteurized. Any of these three things you can use. You have to eyeball the quantity, either salt or baking soda or natural vinegar. Take it in clean water and soak your vegetables in them. And then you can either use a regular plastic scrubber, or you even get one with coconut coir or bristles. You can use that to scrub the surface of the fruits and veggies. A lot of people peel their vegetables. That's another strategy which people use to reduce the content of pesticides. I will share something though, that in nature, if you consume the vegetables that can be consumed with the skin, the best part of the nutrition is just below the skin. So if you have access to organic fruits and vegetables, a potato with skin is better than without skin because it helps to balance the insulin, the sugar spike that comes from potatoes. Carrots, cucumbers, all of these are better with the skin. Chiku also better with the skin, provided they are organic. And if they are not organic, of course, you should clean them the way I've mentioned and or peel them. And after you have scrubbed the surface, then give a final rinse. So the steps you'll follow is wash, soak, scrub, and then rinse. I'm happy to take questions about this just as soon as I finish. And before I take Q&A, just let me give you a brief on what I do. I'm a holistic nutrition and lifestyle coach. I'm based in Bombay. These are the trainings I have undergone. This is what I do. I coach people on a one-on-one basis. I have an e-academy where there are courses one can learn I do a juice cleanse as a group activity every month. So if any of you would be interested in that, you could join in. And I also take workshops and webinars like this for individuals and corporates. This is my email, my website, my office number. If any of you would be interested in working with me on a one-on-one basis for your health goals or interested in any of my offerings, please, this is how you can contact me. On social media. You'll find me as Vanita Contractor. And if any of you like this session and found it valuable, a recommendation on LinkedIn or on Google reviews would be greatly appreciated. If you do review, on Google, you can get a free recipe book. You can just contact my office and we'll send that to you. And if you'd like to consult with me, especially for the people from this audience, we can give you a special offer on consultations. So we'll now move to Q&A. I'm going to stop sharing the screen and take questions. So just to give you my office number again and mail address, and I'm stopping sharing. Okay. And as we do the Q&A, it would be great if you could fill out the feedback form. It's been put on the chat. And please go ahead and you can unmute yourself and ask me your questions, after raising your hand, so I can take your name and take your question. And meanwhile, I'll go through the chat. Okay, can you shed light on how we can track the amount of carcinogenity we have? So it's a little hard to do that because let's understand one thing. We are only here talking about food. EMFs and being constantly surrounded by EMFs also has an impact on our health and in terms of inducing cancer. That's something we cannot quantify. There are a lot of things which come through our water, through our air, through the soil. It's very, very hard to be able to calculate that. We only can control what we have control on, which is our lifestyle, our food habits, and the food we put into our mouth. Organic food verified, not really sure about certification as well. Yeah, say no to packaged food or outside food, learn cooking and eat homemade food always. Karthik, that's brilliant. Those are great alternatives to this problem that we have today in our modern society where adulteration of food is acceptable. That's sad. Now, I do want to specify that yes, in India, certification of organic food can sometimes be not authentic, but I would urge you to educate yourself on how you can tell, how can you make out whether something is organic or not. If you're curious, there are other videos as well, but I specifically have one on my YouTube channel on how to distinguish whether the fruits and vegetables that you're buying are actually organic or not. If I get a chance, I'll try and put the link here before we end. There's a new wave of hydroponic fruits and veggies, but need to verify what type of chemicals are used again. So hydroponics is coming in a big way in India. A lot of the food that is being produced through hydroponics is exotic, and they are injecting nutrients into the water because as such, water will not contain all the nutrients required for the fruits and vegetables to grow. So yes, more research needs to be done. Maybe to some degree, I would say it is safer than contaminated food, than adulterated food, but would I place it in the same degree as organically grown, traditionally grown food? Not really. It's a good alternative, but not close to organic food. And even better, grow your own food. At least we can do small things like microgreens, growing your own microgreens. You can do it with moong also. You can do it with seeds that you have in your kitchen. You can do it with methi. You can do it with the mustard, moong. At least some amount of these can be sprouted or can be made into microgreens and added to your food, into your smoothie. Are silicone brushes and kitchen items healthy to use? That's a very good question, Amar. So I am someone who likes to be old school, I like to use not to use utensils which are non-stick. Again, that's something that is known to be a carcinogen. Still people use those utensils. I personally do not trust silicone, because a lot of the silicone products that you're getting are not high quality. Some of them are very cheap products, made in China products, and the idea of using them on my pan with heat under the pan is just not something that sits well with me. I know they're very, very commonly used, but I prefer using stainless steel, wood for spoons, wooden spoons, or in my vessels, I like to use earthen pots or 3-ply, surgical steel, or really good quality stainless steel utensils. Even our water bottles, as far as possible, like use glass bottles like this for storing your water, or stainless steel rather than plastic. Yeah, I just answered that, Jatin. Steel for sure, not aluminium at all. In India, how many people on an average get cancer and other health diseases by eating all these items? Again, a very profound question. It's really hard to say exactly how many are getting it because of the food items that we're talking about, but these are if you Google any of these points that I have mentioned, you will find resources, you will find links. And like I said, the epidemic, I would say, the epidemic of cancer that we are dealing with is not happening just through the food that we're eating. There are a lot of other factors which are not in our hands. So it's hard to say what gave somebody cancer. But healthy lifestyle, sleeping enough, stress management, eating clean cannot be underrated. If anyone would like to put on their cameras and speak with me, ask me questions by unmuting, I'm happy to take them as well. I'm really, really thankful for all the questions that are being asked. Very, very pertinent questions, very thought-provoking questions, and for sure important ones.
Nowadays, the kids are being told to take this Pedisure and, Chocos and all those.
Yeah.
They even be telling that, they are, the doctors themselves are recommending. So
Yes.
how can we say that these are actually good for children or not to cook?
So are you asking me, do you say they are good, or are you asking me whether I think they are good or not?
No, I want your statement to know whether they are actually good or not.
So I would give things to children which are traditional. So I find a ragi malt mix or a mix which has different millets much more nutrient and safer than buying something from a big brand. Okay. That's my personal take. Also, a lot of these contain a lot of sugar, which kind of is counterproductive. Chocos, I don't think any doctor is recommending, though children would love doctors to recommend it. But nutritively, it's got hardly anything. It's better to, if at all you have to give your children, ready-made breakfast cereal, then go for granola, go for muesli from, really good brands, or maybe, spend time on a weekend and make your own, buying your own rolled oats, putting raisins in, putting, anjeer in, putting dry dates in, and making it really wholesome with simple ingredients, and they taste really good. So again, I'm not deriding doctors or whatever, but doctors do not study nutrition, and our lobby for advertising these products is so strong that you can't help, kind of join in sometimes. Say no to plastic as well for utensils, for sure. Store things in stainless steel, in glass. Very interesting, Karthik, you said about the chopping board. In my house, we only have wooden chopping boards. Yes, you do need to take care if you're eating meat that your wooden chopping board needs to be cleaned each time you use it for handling meat, because a lot of the bacteria can stay in the wooden chopping boards. So maybe glass might be a better idea than wood for non-vegetarian food. If we have a few minutes, I can try and send the link for the organic food video Would people like that? Let me know, then I can search it and send it to you.
Even I reside in Mumbai, so if you can suggest me the places where I can go and prefer
Yes,
organic.
yes, for sure, I can do that. So just a moment. This is my Instagram, if you can follow that. And for places where you can buy organic food in Bombay, there is a market in Bandra, which is called the Farmers Market. Bandra, if you just Google it, you will find it. There's one in Juhu called the Sharan Market, which also you can find easily. You can Google it and you'll get the information. And there are smaller ones coming up also, but you can get a sense of where to buy once you start off with these two. I'm
Okay.
trying to find the organic video for you.
Okay.
Khushbu, if there are any questions, just read them out so I can take them, because I'm just I found the link. I'm just going to share it. Okay, I'm loving the questions here, Mohit, Sani. What about utensil cleaning liquid? How safe are they? So, every question that you asked me is something that I've thought about, and I have made changes to and I know it may be hard for some people to imagine, but start doing little bits. Maybe too much of everything might overwhelm you. So what I use is Rita powder. I do not use commercial utensil cleaning liquids at our home at all. Because most people don't wash their own vessels. We have helpers who do it, who are in a big rush always, and a residue of that powder does tend to remain, and it invariably goes into our stomachs. So if you go to a local market like a Bania and ask for Rita powder, what I do is I order a kilo, 2 kilo packets at a time, and it lasts me for about a couple of months in my home. And that's my solution for it. How safe are they? I would say don't use them in the concentrated form. Dilute them a lot, and tell your helper that you will pay them a little extra so that they clean off the liquid properly. And if you can find Rita powder, please consider doing that. So we need to conclude this session. I've really enjoyed taking all your questions and presenting all the information that I had. Please do remember to fill in the feedback form. I will also post it again to everybody. The survey would be great if you could fill up for feedback. And please reach out if you have any more questions or if you'd like to speak with me regarding your own personal health issues. Thank you so much, Team Nova Health and Mohit and Khushbu.
Yeah, a huge thanks to you, Vinita, for this insightful, session. I must say it was, really eye-opening. I will take that one, statement with me where you said, either pay the farmers now or pay the pharmacy later. So yeah, everyone, please ensure to, fill the forms. Thank you so much for joining. Have a good evening.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Devansh. Thank you, Nimish.
Thank you so much.
Shara.
Thank you for the session today.
Thank
It was amazing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Somebody show me your faces at least. It would be so nice to see people before we. Bye, Nimish. Bye, Khushbu.
I will.
Nice to see people.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you so much.
You're
Thanks for the
welcome.
session.
Have a good evening. Yes, I hope it's not seeming as gloomy now.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.